This is midnight at the movies with RickRamos and Ibrahim Chavez. It's midnight, but at high noon, in the California sun, in the California heat. Hot rods kick up the desert dust, and out of the cars bounce bad, buxom bitches ready to race you and kick your ass. Faster Pussycat, Kill, Kill is a Russ Meyer's mid-60s sexploitation big tit flick that admires what it objectifies and objectifies what it depicts. In this film, I end up rooting completely for the criminal women. Do you root for them?
I'm definitely rooting for one Tura Satana, or whatever the hell her name is.
Yeah.
This is one of the baddest bitches that I've ever seen in a movie, ever. This is a legendary movie, and for people who love film, this is a film that I imagine we all get to at some point. It takes some of us longer to get there than others, but this is my first Russ Meyer's film.
Yeah, same.
Same thing? Yeah, and I had never seen it before. Were you familiar with it? Had you seen it?
It's funny because So White Zombie, they have a song Thunder Kiss 65. And mixed in with it mixed into the song, there's some lines, and it's a female voice, and the female's like, I never try anything, I just do it. And you know that it's like from some old movie.
Yeah.
You can tell. And the other line that she says, you're all shook up, aren't you, baby? And it repeats that line. It's like, I never try anything, I just do it. And so I was familiar with the voice, those lines,
yeah,
and that attitude, and then I think at some point I realized that it was from this film, but I had never like really seen the film. I had never explored it, and this was really interesting to me because it's hard boiled, it's pulpy as fuck.
Yeah,
it's got elements of like a low budget Tennessee Williams. It's campy in its exaggeration. Tura Satana is just this super influential character who fucking not screams, but she like yells all her lines, and it just drips with attitude, and it's like there's a scene the guy's like, you've got a weird sense of humor, and she's like, try again, I get funnier. Or like, I don't know what the point is. The point is of no return, and you've reached it. So it's like, it could be cheesy, but there's something about her,
yeah,
that it's not cheesy. She's just a smart ass. It could be cheesy, but it's she's sarcastic as fuck. She's a smart ass. She's a precursor to Heathers. You know what I mean? Like all these like cinema bad girls. She's directly in line from the femme fatales of noir. And from her, or in that link, she's one of those links in that chain. You get fucking Heathers. You get the fucking Shannon Doherty's, who are these low budget. I mean, she was also like, she was on a successful TV show, which was 90210. But you know what I mean? Like, you get these dark-haired, banged bitches.
Yeah.
Rose McGowan in fucking Doom Generation, like, kind of gives off some of that. which eventually, Mean Girls kind of comes off of the Heathers thing. And it's you see her influence and the influence of this film on Tarantino for sure. Like Pulp Fiction,
Death Proof, Fox.
Death Proof, Fox Force 5, which is like the concept that comes out of Pulp Fiction about the girls who are all like bad, like killers and stuff, and Kill Bill. It's the premise is you have three car racer chicks in the desert, and they're playing chicken and fucking around, and there's a tone of lesbianism below the surface there.
Yeah.
And they cross paths with a racer couple. And the racer couple is more of the kind of like almost like that Gidget kind of vibe. And the leader of this group of three racer chicks, who played by Tura Satana, she ends up fighting the boyfriend, and she's the boyfriend is the one that's like they're going back and forth with these lines, and he says about trying whatever, and she's like, I don't try anything, I just do it. You want to try me? And he just kind of like, what the fuck? And his girlfriend is this like super young, like happy-go-lucky girl or whatever, and all the chicks are like scantily clad with big tits, and it's in black and white. And Tura Satana, the main leader girl, she fights the boyfriend, like physically fights the boyfriend, and she ends up killing it. So they abduct the young girlfriend, and that becomes part of a larger scheme to steal money from an old wheelchair-bound pervert and his two sons. And so you have this young girl whose boyfriend's been killed by these three like femme fatales, the blonde, this like like so-called like smart one who's like the Italian one or whatever, and then this dark-haired kind of Betty Page-esque ethnic big-titted queen,
the leader,
the leader.
You can't even describe her. You can't even describe her in and of herself. It's everything that has come out of her. It's she's, I went into it thinking I'm about to watch a really bad movie. And to a degree, it is a bad movie. But it's also a brilliant movie, not because of anything that Russ Meyer does, but because of these three women. And specifically Tura Satana, who is, I think she's brilliant in this. I think the fact that she can do all those ridiculous lines that you've just quoted, and a number of them that I'm imagining you're going to quote again because you seem to love the poetry of this movie. And I'm with you, but these lines have stuck with you in a way that I was sitting there just laughing my ass off and trying to. I watched it twice in 2 nights, and I was really surprised at how much. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the film, but really how much of it I admired, because I love the look of the film. And I love these three women who, the blonde is the least, is the worst actress of the three. And Haji, as the Italian one, has a horrible accent.
Well, I mean,
but it all works in this movie.
Yeah. And I mean, the young racer girl is like, do you girls want a soft drink? And then
we don't like anything soft.
Soft drink? Everything we like is hard.
That shit's fucking great.
Yeah, you're going like, what?
But it's like I mean, let's be honest. When it comes down to it, I think I thought part of the problem. I thought I was going to be watching. I thought I was going to be watching a pervert's chance at directing a movie, which I think is what Russ Meyer's. He's just a guy who's about big tits, and
Well,
the other films that
it's
he's made seem to be that. This seems to be different, and I think it's different because of how much Tura Satana puts into this character. She makes her that this is one of the great characters in
yeah.
B movie cinema and cinema in general. She is fucking amazing in this film. I not only is she just physically incredible, like she's just that
Her
outfit,
presence.
that those bangs,
Yeah.
that makeup that she has, she's fucking great. But it's more than that. It's a it's a fucking it's a fully embodied crazy, angry, pissed off, just narcissistic. She's I don't even know how to describe her. I, Part of the problem I have with the film is it a male fantasy of big titted badass bitches, or is it a male fantasy of badass big titted bitches realized and humanized by these women who, yes, she's playing a cartoon, but she gives the cartoon so much life.
Yeah. Yeah. She's not just drawn that way.
Yeah, she's I love it. I fucking love it.
I think it's both. I think Russ Meyer is interesting because from what little I know about him,
Hmm.
um, I was already familiar because there's like little references to him in this, and I've talked about that book, The Other Hollywood.
Yeah.
My legs make Neo. It's an oral history of porn. Um, we did at one point we each did like a month that we got to like do our own thing, recommend our own stuff, and I really was looking at like L.A. for 1 month that we were doing those films, and when we did that George C. Scott movie, Hardcore, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, I talked a lot about that book, that Legs McNeil book, and it's like the oral history of porn because he did a version of that for punk, um, but this has that pun because it's the oral history, and Russ Meyer is he's referenced in that, and he started out as like a centerfold and pinup photographer
Yeah.
in the 40s and 50s.
Hmm.
Um, and then he transitioned into doing films that were more like burlesque oriented. And then that goes into like there's a branch of like the nudie stuff,
Yeah.
but then there's the go-go stuff, where this comes out, and this is part of a larger trilogy that it's supposed there's a film called Mudhoney, which is like it has elements of Southern Gothic, which this also does. The elements of this is like I'm gonna be on all over the place, but the elements of Southern Gothic in this are you could say like this almost it's not an abandoned house, but it's this ranch house where all these horrors have taken place. It's murder and family decay and um, mixed with greed and temptation, and that's also an overlap with noir, with the desert noir of this. Um, and actually, side note, you can also mix in, because I was getting a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre with that, with the family
Hmm.
once they get to that ranch, and the girl screaming at the end, that's Final Girl written all over it. Before that was a thing. But okay, put that to the side. Um, Mudhoney, actually, interestingly, is the name of a Seattle grunge band. But it's kind of like Grapes of Wrath, but it's more like Tits of Wrath. Um,
Yeah.
because it's Russ Meyer, but it's like a Grapes of Wrath type of Southern Gothic story. Yeah, the other one, it's called his Gothic trilogy. Um, Motorcycle, the motorcycle.
Yeah,
Which is
it's kind of like the precursor to this film, right? Motorcycle.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's more like the wild one.
Hmm.
Um, and then this one, and so he comes from this like nudie background, but if you mix it with the how it became like the go-go thing, it's interesting because he was working in like I think one of his films he depicts like San Francisco, but he was also working in LA. Um, there's this mix of like this cultural mix that's happening in the decade where it's in LA and in Hollywood and shit like that, where
Hmm.
if you think of the 50s and 60s, you had burlesque, you had the jazz dancers, um, those shake dancers
Yeah.
that guys like Lenny Bruce would get up and like like stand up. And in between, you would have the guy on drums, and then the chick would be like hitting her hips to the like the snare or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
You have that like going on, but you also have Whiskey a Go Go opens up in like '64, and pretty soon. And I talked about this during when we were talking about Laurel Canyon. There was a guy. He had a group that they were called the Freaks,
Hmm.
and his name was Vito Paulecas, and he would go into these clubs and they would let them in free because he had all these women that were with him, and they would dance like freestyle, like this free form dancing, and these were the precursors to the hippies because this is like still mid '60s. This is before like Summer of Love. This is before that, and this is in LA on Sunset. Um, Eventually, a lot of that dancing, that free flow dancing, gets put on the stage and gets put on platforms, and that is one of the elements that leads into go-go dancing. Um, so you have like this go-go stuff as a kind of one channel Hollywood go-go dancing. I mean, not only was it in Hollywood, but like for Russ Meyer, it is. It's one channel mixed with the channel of the pinup model,
Yeah.
mixed with the channel of porn, and there's a pipeline of all this stuff from B movie to also porn. Um, and so it's interesting, like that he would create the venue in these films for someone like Tura Satana to really embody this character in a way that it, it, it's like Peckinpah was doing his version of he did his version of exploitation. A lot of these directors do their versions of what is exploitation. But this is different, I think, because it's like it's one of those where think of Basic Instinct, which is a neo noir. I think part of it is tongue in cheek. I think it's campy satire as well.
Yeah.
Um, but look at what Sharon Stone like. She made it more than what it is.
She
And
definitely
she
elevates the material, which I think is what Tura Satana does with this.
100%. And
Yeah.
there is no Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct without something like this. And it's interesting, like if you look at this got me thinking about and we can do this, and I'd be curious to see like what pops into your head, like just off the cuff, but like
Hmm.
different male gaze, male fantasy depictions of women's sexuality in terms of like the sex symbols of the decades. And I was thinking like you have your Hollywood glamour girls who are still sexualized
Hmm.
on the one hand, and then you've got your straight up like porn on the other hand. But then in this middle area, that's where Russ Meyer lives. This is where the B movies are. This is where, and you have in the 40s, on the one end there are the blue movies of porn or whatever, and then I would think like the ones that come up to me is like the sex symbols that I think of as the 40s, that I think of like Ava Gardner,
Hmm.
people like that,
Yeah,
Rita Hayworth. Um,
sure.
but then you have Jane Russell as this a little bit more. She's fucking Howard Hughes' girl. You know what I mean? She's the
Hmm.
bra girl. She's the um a little bit more B. Um, in the 50s, you've got Marilyn Monroe,
Yeah.
but you've got Betty Page
Hmm.
as the lowbrow version, um, the
Well,
pinup version.
the pinup version, yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about a lowbrow version, then you got what's her name? The one that was decapitated, Jane Mansfield, with the Kurt
Right,
Van Hout, Mamie Van Dorn. These kind of
but I think even Jane Mansfield, I think, is like she's still Hollywood. Like she's still like
yeah.
she's like the foil, or I mean she's like the low budget Marilyn Monroe supposedly.
Yeah.
Which even like Tarantino plays up to that when they get
Jackrabbit Slims.
to Jack Rabbit Slims, and
Yeah.
then she's like, "Oh, there's two Monroes." He's like, "No, that's all that, right?"
Yeah.
Um, in the '60s, you have the beginnings of the sexual revolution.
Yeah.
Playboy magazine, which is part of that. I mean, even Playboy magazine versus Penthouse versus like hardcore shit, right?
Yeah.
You you've got your blonde Euro Bridget Bardot,
Hmm.
and then here you've got fucking Tura Satana, ethnic, aggressive, grindhouse,
Dangerous.
dangerous as fuck,
Yeah. I
dangerous
mean,
as fuck. I mean,
she.
and
Yeah.
more interesting, more and the thing is that she was basically made for this part, which I'll get into. But I mean, like, you can keep playing this game.
Hmm.
'70s. I don't know who you think of. I think of Farrah Fawcett, the hair, Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Um, the other version of that is Marilyn Chambers, the
Hmm.
crossover,
Yeah.
Behind the Green Door, um, Ivory Soap, or I would think either her, or I would think like I mean she's more because she touches into the actual porn world, but even a Pam Grier, B movie sexuality.
Hmm.
But the thing is that she's a person of color, and so that already at that like that on some level that's already going to put you in this like not Hollywood glamour category.
Sure.
Um, '80s, we got the clean Brooke Shields. Um, Kim Basinger glam was more glam, but at the same
Hmm.
time, like she touched on with 9.5 weeks, she touched on like almost to that middle ground because it was like an erotic thriller. But then you have Tracy Lords with her crossover shit, like and the scandal of like
Underage. Yeah.
underage,
Yeah.
under 18. Um, '90s, see, I would put Sharon Stone um, versus a Shannon Tweed. Um,
Well, the '90s would also, the late '80s into the early '90s would have the emergence of straight to video and
mhm.
movies that were made for, like, let's say Cinemax. They were
Right,
calling what they were
Shannon Tweed,
jokingly referred to as Skinemax back then.
Skinemax, yeah.
Um, so you would definitely see people, and you would also have the emergence of the Andy Sedaris films. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Andy Sedaris, but he would do these shitty, really shitty um, James Bond takeoffs in Hawaii. They were called Malibu Bay Films. I think the first film was called Malibu Express. And
No, I don't know this.
oh, you didn't know this? Well, these were, as a young man who was looking for filth on TV, these were the things that were coming on. And I remember the first one being Malibu Express with an actress from the late 70s and the 80s named Sybil Danning, who, if you're not familiar with Sybil Danning, my God, just I want to say statuesque, but not like Sondal Bergman. Definitely Playboy-esque. Blonde, European, and the standard for that, big tits.
Okay.
And there must have been about 15 or 20 of these films that would go on into the 90s and into the early, like mid 90s, with Playboy stars, including Donna Spear, Hope Marie Carlton is one of them. I remember Roberta Vasquez, who was great, and and then Julie Strain. So they would pull a lot of these. When you're a kid and you're seeing this shit, this is the shit that sticks with you, and you're just like, it's shitty action, and what I remember was that they were kind of CIA. They were kind of CIA. You got to see this shit to see how bad it was. But these are films that were born out of the Russ Meyer world of Faster Pussycat, and then later on Vixen and Super Vixen and the shit that he did like that, which was, it just seemed to me be like, let's have the bare minimum of a story and then chicks with big tits. But I will say that Faster Pussycat is a lot more than that, because there's more of a story here. There's and it's hilarious because he has it in that beginning, and I don't know if that's Russ Meyer's in the voiceover at the beginning. Where
Right.
he animates the voice, and it's like sex, violence, and sex go hand in hand, and whatever the fuck he says. I think it's so campy and overdone, but it really does prepare you for what you're about to watch, which is a film that has I think it's tongue-in-cheek. I think it's campy. I think it's aware of what he's doing. And I think he's a guy that knows the limitations of what he's dealing with and drives forward in that direction. So these are not films that are aspiring to be greater than what they are, but they achieve greatness because they are exactly what they are. It's yeah. So, I mean, I love it for that reason. I'm sorry. You were going on a history lesson, and I went into another version of that history lesson because I wasn't
it's
sure.
interesting. What I like is that you brought in, because I don't know those names.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know Zalman King.
Yeah. So Red Shoe Diaries. Yeah.
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 Because those would be at the video store too.
Mm-hmm.
Even the stuff that when Adrian Lyne,
Mm-hmm.
Verhoeven, Lawrence Kasdan's Body Heat, Body of Evidence. Who did that? That was
Body of Evidence was wasn't that Abel Ferrara? No, he did Dangerous Game. No, I can't remember.
Uli something.
Uli Grothbart? No, it couldn't have been Uli Grothbart.
No, it'll come to me later, hopefully. Yeah. But those kind of some of them mainstream, like obviously 9.5 Weeks, Fatal Attraction, but those neo-noir kind of ones. But then you had like Zalman King and those less known ones. The Wild Orchid, which was that was
Carrie Otis and Mickey Rourke.
Carrie Otis and Mickey Rourke, yeah.
God, man, it's amazing the shit that sticks with you when you're going through puberty, man. This is the shit that really defines a certain period of your life. Wow,
well,
I haven't thought about that in years.
yeah, but what's interesting is that like even if you can't necessarily articulate it, like you can connect and you can see like this looks like, or this kind of reminds me of David Lynch, or this kind of looks
Yeah,
like Sunset Boulevard, or this is, and it's because they're drawing on some of the same aesthetics and some of the same
yeah,
material. Um, and you can make a connection. I mean, people used to make the connection between Marilyn Monroe and when Madonna was trying to like really evoke that.
hmm yeah,
Um, or they would make the connection between Marilyn Monroe and Anna Nicole Smith,
yeah,
um, who was one of those '90s um, sex symbols that was very much one foot in the fucking B movie
hmm
world. In the same way that, like, I mean, Anna Nicole Smith is kind of like that version of Pam Anderson,
yeah.
um, who, you know, she was doing her bounciness on the beach. She wasn't in the desert in Russ Meyer. She was fucking with Hasselhoff. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
bouncing up and down on the fucking beach, and or even a little while later, Jenny McCarthy. Um, and it's typically these blonde, buxom
Yeah,
beauties that are like the more glamorized, or the more all-American girl, or the more whatever you want to call it. Or the blondes have more fun, and gentlemen prefer blondes, and blonde this and blonde that. And to bring it back to Tura Satana, um, Tura Satana is not blonde. Tura Satana is not. She's buxom, but she's not some happy-go-lucky like summer girl.
no.
Um,
Plus, she's half
she's
Japanese, I believe.
yeah,
At least she was born in Japan. I know that, and I think she's half
she's
Japanese.
some she's like of color. She's ethnic.
She's what they would have called exotic. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
She's exotic.
hmm
Um, and she she's almost from the same like one page away from fucking Vampira.
Yeah. I was
You know what I
trying to
mean?
figure out how to get Vampira and Elvira into this conversation
I mean, there
because it
is
plays
something.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's something that haircut is. There's that. There's the look of it. So in that sense, like there is this kind of I wouldn't necessarily call it goth, but there is kind of an adjacency to that,
Yeah.
which Vampira and Elvira are very much like goth style icons, um, and they both are like the B moviness of Vampira, the campiness of Elvira. They both blend in with this. The looks of other, you know what I mean, like goth. Patricia Morrison was a bass player in all like different prominent bands, pretty, but also looked fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
Um, and this is very much that. And then you find out that Tura Satana she was abused.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know it. I don't know much about her.
Apparently she was. There's a documentary on her, and I only saw some of it.
hmm
I didn't get a chance to see the whole thing, but she was basically abducted and abused by and gang raped by a group of of men. I don't know. I don't recall like how old they were, but
Oh, wow.
she was like 9 or 10.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't know this.
Yeah, and at one point she gets into martial arts and all this shit.
hmm
Um, and this is part of the legend. I don't know how much of it, or I don't know if it's verified or not, but
Yeah.
part of the legend is that she actually She claimed that she was able to track them down.
Wow.
And the ones that she was able to track down, supposedly she exacted some form of revenge on them, including physical.
Jesus Christ.
And so I don't know what the timeline is in terms of like where, if that falls before or after this. But even had she, if you don't take, if you just take that story to be like a myth,
yeah,
um,
it's still part of a legend, and it ups the yeah.
And symbolically, metaphorically, her revenge is in this film.
Yeah,
where she's fucking killing people left and right, and
enjoying it,
But the thing is that, like, tell me you're not enjoying it, because I am.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind.
She's fucking like she's the villain. But then it's interesting because she's the primary villain, and you're like, yeah, kill that square, you know. But then,
wait, hold on a minute. Hold on 1 minute. I'm sorry. Yeah. I apologize. Hold on. We left off where you were telling me about.
She's the villain.
Yeah, she's the villain.
She's the villain that you're rooting for, because you're like, yeah, kill that square is what I said, and but then they encounter what are going to be supposedly like their next victims. This old man in a wheelchair who has money, supposedly stashed on his property. But then you're like, oh, this is the actual villain, because he's this like sexual abuser.
Yeah.
And his wife is dead, but then it turns out that his wife died, I think, giving birth to the son, who's like all buff, who's like the, like the so-called like idiot son.
Yeah, they call him the vegetable. I mean, that's his name in the movie.
Yeah, and then the other son is like the good one, but like I don't trust that guy, because he looks like the other guy. He looks like Pete Buttigieg to me.
I can see that. Okay.
Yeah. Nothing against Pete Buttigieg. I'm just saying that he just looks very like clean cut like that.
Yeah.
But in this kind of film, that's one of the ones that I'm gonna trust the least, because I'm just kind of like, I was like, no, like I saw Psycho.
Good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Especially being out there, beat up by the father, abused emotionally and psychologically by the father, in this middle of nowhere kind of bullshit. Yeah, you could. I didn't realize it at the time, but now that you pointed out, there is a very Norman Bates kind of vibe to him.
Totally. And under the oppressive control of his dad, and like maybe he dresses up like his mom. You know what I mean? Like, just spoiler alert, but and then so now you're like, oh shit, like there's this young girl that's being used as a pawn between them, and you have the old like lecherous man in a wheelchair who like wants her, and he's like, we're not going to let what happened like last time happen to this one.
Yeah, there's also this allusion to evil shit that has happened in the past, and you're like, oh fuck, what kind of Ed Gein Chainsaw Massacre shit is going on in this desert?
It's completely Ed Gein shit. And then, but like Tura Satana is like, we're gonna sell this chick, and we're gonna get that fucking money, and like fuck all these people.
Yeah.
And the Italian chick is like in love with Tura Satana. And then like the blonde girl is just trying to do her own thing and constantly fucking up, but like rebelling.
Yeah.
And so like hell breaks loose, and all these people end up dying. And I really wanted, I mean, fucking spoiler alert, but this film is 60 years old.
Yeah.
I wanted because Tura Satana's character dies, and she dies fighting, but I wanted her to get away. I didn't want the young innocent girl to like die or anything, but I wanted Tura Satana to somehow get away as well. And in the end, it's the young girl and that Pete Buttigieg, Norman Bates guy who go away, and I'm just kind of like, oh, you're dead, girl. You're fucking dead. Everyone's dead. Uh, but it becomes this thing of like the saying of, if you talk about James Bond or any of these male characters, it's like, oh, the women want him and the men want to be him.
Yeah.
It was like I want her, but I also want to be her. You know what I mean? Like, because she has these qualities of like, she has both. That's what it is that like, she has the so-called male qualities of power,
Yeah.
and like not giving a fuck, and things that you think that you say like, oh, like that's a like, these are very so-called masculine qualities and like admirable, and things that everyone wants. However, any way you slice it, everyone wants like to do what they want in terms of like personal power. To achieve, I don't try anything, I just do it. At the same time, she has like this sexual magnetism. She has the look, she has beauty. So like so-called things that like these feminine qualities of not softness, but she has like just attractiveness that draws you in. She has a charm. When she smiles, she just seems like it seems genuine when as her as an actor, and then that character. So she has these you don't really see vulnerability in her, the way you would with like a Sigourney Weaver in Alien, like who really has both of those qualities as well. But she's just one of those characters that has a wide range of like aspects that seem below the surface. Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct shows vulnerability very explicitly. But the thing is that you don't know if it's an act or if it's genuine, or if it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You really don't see that here, but I feel like it's there. It all comes out like very much like kind of yelling and through sarcasm, but you know that there's something underneath there.
Well, I think it's such an extreme example of toughness. And I don't think she's covering up for something, but I think that she knows that she can't allow sensitivity to get into there. In a weird way, it's like any male hero. There's a part of me that when we talk about it, I'm thinking of Arlie Ermy in Full Metal Jacket, where it's hard to imagine, but he has to care about these young men on some level.
Well, they have to be tough enough to go out there and survive.
Yeah, to do what he needs to. He needs to break them of whatever softness that is in them, and that makes him paternal. That makes him also maternal in a weird way, because he's crafting like them. He is. So there is a certain level of sensitivity and vulnerability in a character like that, but it has to be the bravado and the toughness of instilling fear. And the fact is that Tura Satana has a very similar role in that she is the leader of this girl gang, and she has to be tough. She has to be the one that is controlling the situation and manipulating everything, because she's the first one that realizes how bad this wheel-bound pervert is.
Yeah.
She doesn't miss it, and he's a fucking he's bad. He's a real fucking low-life scumbag, and I like his performance too, because he doesn't overplay it, but you could tell. Even if his dick doesn't work, he's gonna molest the shit out of this girl.
Of course.
And he's gonna do something to her, and he blames
so her. Much worse. So much worse because his dick doesn't work.
Yeah. It's But she
It's
sees it,
and
you know?
It's always like that, you know.
Yeah.
Um, because and the thing is that these women have bigger dicks than him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that's a threat. Um, it just plays on all these things, and the irony and the kind of the brilliance of it is that this comes from a filmmaker who is showing you their tits at every turn, who's giving you cleavage like at every turn, um, who's a nudie guy,
Yeah.
who's in the framework of a sexploitation film, is somehow setting the stage for some form of like whether you want to do it with quotes or not, some kind of feminist messaging and feminist meaning. The 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 influences on. I mean, John Waters. In the little bit I saw clips from where John Waters talks about he went to go see it with Divine,
Yeah.
and then that's why Divine is always yelling in like the early films and stuff like that, is because it's like it was very much influenced by that. So this is influencing men, influencing Divine, who and John Waters, gay man. Um, it's influencing Tarantino,
Mm-hmm.
who's very much like Russ Meyer is basically influencing him to. It's like, yeah, show those feet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let it out, like let out your perversion or whatever, and maybe you'll get some. You'll get some. It's the sacred and the profane. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get some gold out of there somewhere. And it's also an influence. Tura Satana is an influence on riot girls, on female punk, on Bikini Kill, on fucking pro-sex feminism in a way, because it's like, and Tura Satana herself was like supposedly very like, oh, I want to fuck, and I'm gonna like. Supposedly she told Russ Meyer like on the set, she's like, well, you and I are gonna fuck, but I'm gonna fuck somebody when I want to.
Yeah.
And supposedly she chose like someone in the crew. That was like that was her pick, you know. And so there's like this level of female dominance, which I mean that goes into the genre of fetishism, and fetish being like, you know, power object shit. Like she becomes herself a fetish. She is a power object in this film. But the thing is that it's like she's not an object; she's a power person. You know, even though she could have just been an object in this film. And I don't know enough about Russ Meyer to be like, um, that's why I'm curious. I want to see, was this a one-off? Is this like his? I mean, this is supposedly his most famous film,
Mm-hmm.
but if you think of, because this is mixed, it's also a car movie.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean that's a fetish object, especially in America. Like that's a fetish power object. Um, an extension of the Western, fucking Rebel Without a Cause, Bullet, the Burt Reynolds '70s movies, fucking '70s, '80s, whatever,
Yeah,
fucking
sure. Smoking the Bandit, Gator,
Cannonball,
that kind of stuff. Yeah. Cannonball.
Cannonball Run,
Mm-hmm.
um, Fast and Furious. But then their B-side versions are fucking like what? Two Lane Blacktop, which we talked about
Mm-hmm.
before, Vanishing Point, shit like
Gone in
Mad
60
Max.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is in there, but this is like fetish object, fetish person. Um, and the metaphors are there. I mean, the most ruthless, domineering male is in a fucking wheelchair. He's fucking impotent, but he has a shotgun. You know, that's his penis. It's there's it's simple, but there's all kinds of fucking stuff there. You know what I mean?
the question becomes, and it's always something for me, are all those layers there because the director and the writer, and in this case, the director is the writer in this case, because I believe Russell Myers wrote this as well. I believe he wrote all of his stuff. Are the layers there intentionally, or is it some kind of weird abstraction of a sexual fantasy that he has? I guess what I mean is it just that he likes tough, big-breasted women, and Tura Satana, by virtue of her life and her interpretation of the character and her creation of the character, does that fill in the blanks that you're reading right now? Because I believe a lot of that is there. I believe all of that is there, actually. But I don't know if I want to give credit to Russ Myers. I would have to see the other films to know if there's a huge fall off from this film to those films.
Yeah.
Because if there's a
Well,
huge fall off, which I imagine, because I've seen trailers and clips of those other movies, my argument would be he was blessed
right.
by being given Tura Satana to create this character.
I think it's both because I think it's when you catch lightning in a bottle, it's not always by design. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it's and I think you're right. I think he does like strong, big-titted women. In the same way that like Crumb likes women with big legs. You know what I mean? And Crumb can draw women with big legs, and it can be this objectification thing. But in there, he might stumble, maybe even against his own like ideas or whatever, or his own so-called like better judgment or worse judgment.
Yeah.
You can stumble on something else. You know what I mean? Like you can. One time I was exaggerating, but I was saying like there's something in Kim Kardashian enlarging her breasts and enlarging her ass, that um, connects to ancient fucking like little statues of women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. I mean, that's not that insightful. I mean, it's pretty like it's pretty obvious. You know what I mean? Like it's done in our modern consumer fucking imagistic way as a form of marketing and branding and all that for herself. But at the same time, it's the same thing that like when if a witch makes herself look beautiful, it's glamour magic. Um, when Hollywood makes starlets look beautiful, it's glamour. It's not magic, but it's movie magic. That's that glamour magic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something Freud. Yeah, he was obsessed with fucking sex and dicks and all that. But like he was like humans are fucking all about sex and death. And yeah, he was exaggerating too. But there's something. I mean, he was clearly onto something.
Yeah.
Um, Freud has been out of fashion for a long time, but I mean, there is something there. And yes, there is something there. You know what I mean? Like, beyond what Russ Meyer could have like come up with on his own. It's there. I don't know that he was like, okay, we're gonna make the most toxic male in the film. And obviously, he wasn't using this language either because you know that he wasn't all woke or whatever. But it's not like you're going to say, well, this is the most problematic character.
Yeah.
And he actually represents Donald Trump and blah, blah. And this person's in a wheelchair. That shows his impotence. I mean, I think a lot of times that's someone doing an analysis looks at that after. If someone would have said, like, funny thing, Russ, like, the most impotent character is in a wheelchair. For all we know, he could have been like, I'll be damned, like,
Hmm.
fuck. Like, wouldn't, like, ah, interesting. Or he could have been very much like, Brian De Palma would have been like, of course I thought of that. Uh, and, I mean, like, it could be both, but there's always layers that are going to be, it's like, well, where did that come from? That idea of like, even to have that, because he didn't necessarily have to have that, but he got that flash of insight somehow to put that.
Well, it's like you're dealing with tropes and stock
Yeah,
characters in certain ways where it's like, but tropes and stock characters exist in real life. If you go to your job, you see the dumb fuck. You see the asshole. You see the pussy hound. You see the whore. You see the good girl. You see, and it's not necessarily as black and
yes,
white as all
it's
that.
the
But
Jungian archetypes.
yeah, I mean, and the thing is, when you put it on screen, you amplify it so that it becomes this it becomes a grander statement when maybe it's just what it is, but it's always going to be more than what it is because there's a backstory to everything, and culture informs art in the same way that art informs culture, and it's this weird cyclical thing where it becomes um what are we and where does this come from? So
Right.
you have, I could see where you say, hey, I want three bad bitches, and it's a trio because a trio is a very good thing to work with.
The rule of three.
Yeah, the rule of
Yeah.
three, and you have them traveling. One of them has to be the leader, and the leader necessarily has to be the most, I guess, in a if you want to in the most obvious description of it would be the most masculine one, the toughest one, the meanest one, the one that's willing to get it. I mean, Tura Satana gets punched in the face in this film.
Yeah.
She gets thrown on the ground. She's wallowing around, and she's never like, "Oh, my nails." She's like
No.
fucking shit up,
Yeah.
and it's
You get hit by a car.
she gets hit by she
She's
hits
spitting
people
up
by
blood.
cars, and she gets hit by a car. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's not dainty in any way. Um, but as you're watching it, you see she's cartoonish, but it's cartoonish in a way that fits in with this type of film.
Yeah. Because the action
Yeah,
aspect of it.
yeah, and so I love that. I mean, but it's like there's a reason that this film continues to be watched 60 years later, and people are attracted to it and are, let's be honest, young guys, teenage guys, middle school guys are going to watch it and they're going to jerk off thinking about Tura Satana, and young women are going to watch it wishing they were her, wishing that they could be as bad as she is, as tough as
Or
she
else
is.
they're gonna be totally fucking repulsed by the concept of like,
A certain type of woman who is trained to believe that she should be more comforting and
I mean, that's only one aspect, I think, of who would, I mean, because look, you're gonna have every kind of reaction that can
yeah,
exist is gonna have, but there are gonna people that are gonna say, well, this is fucking sexploitation. I don't support this.
hmm,
And they're going to also see that, like, as complex um as we want to make it, at the same time, you could make it and just say, well, she's just a tough chick with big tits.
hmm,
Um, and this is all just a venue for Russ Meyer's fetish and his fantasy.
yeah.
And as tough and as cool and as admirable, but or not admirable as her character is, that's all she is just his plaything for his little movie. And they're gonna say, I'm not down with that. Um, and I mean, and I think on in a sense, those are valid points too.
Yeah.
Because it's when we've talked about this with Peck and Paul. We talked about it with De Palma, and
we've talked about it with
anytime.
Tarantino.
Well, yeah, for
I'm
sure.
anticipating. Yeah.
Any kind of like any of those films, any of those things where it's like the woman is screaming, the woman is crawling backwards, the woman is crawling forwards, the woman runs, she falls, she's even in Jurassic Park when Laura Dern is like trying to get into that fucking underground like electrical place or whatever, and she's like limping, and there's something I think that's coming from a place of like you're not only showing like the damsel in distress, you're showing like your prey, you know?
Yeah.
And Jaws, and usually there's like nakedness involved and it's the vulnerability of being naked, but also like, is it this moral question and things that like in the 90s they discussed and stuff like that in horror films, with Scream and all that. But it kind of becomes, was it Truffaut or was it Godard that said that about war films, that there is
Truffaut.
no.
Yeah.
And the idea is just by shooting something, like regardless of your position politically on like war or anti-war, any kind of, even an anti-war film, by virtue of the fact that it's filmed and it's theatrical in that sense, it's dramatized, it's operatic, it makes it romanticizes it.
It romanticizes it, but a description of anything does that. I'm reminded of I don't know if you've seen Milius, which is a documentary about John Milius, and it's interesting because
he discusses his right wing bullshit like with pride. Yeah,
yeah. Have you?
I'm a militarist.
Yeah, you've seen the
Yeah, another guy with a little dick.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I love Milius. I love the craziness of him. I think the movies are overrated. I think he's a joke. I think he's ridiculous in a lot of respects, but you can see how he would be fun. There's a point where Milius meets Oliver Stone, who is problematic in his own way.
Of course, because everyone is,
yeah.
But I'm not saying, but not to cut you off, but I'm not saying everyone is, therefore no one is.
No, I know you're not saying that. That's not what you're saying, and I'm not leading it into that. What I'm saying is, Milius has this idea. He talks about going to his war. He missed his war, his chance, because of asthma, and Stone is like, I'm not a hawk. I looked at it as an evil thing, as a horrible thing that I did. But it's the difference between Oliver Stone going over there, believing that it was his duty to go, versus Milius, who was a warmonger, and saying it is not just my duty, it is my destiny.
Yeah.
You know, so the artist himself can be problematic. We've talked in the past about Tarantino, and a lot of filmmakers, whenever, in most revenge films that are centered around women, and we've talked about this, I don't know, we've talked about it definitely off mic, but I don't know if we've talked about it on mic as much. A woman cannot, a woman's revenge film can almost never not have the woman who realizes herself, who becomes the badass, reaching that point without being raped. She needs to be raped.
Right. It's that the idea of somehow that, because that's like her crucifixion that she needs to resurrect out of, and that, since that's the most like that's such an extreme ordeal, that it's like it has to go there. And then it's interesting because men don't write male characters um, being raped, so then they can become a badass.
Yeah.
Men um, men usually go and learn from older men and then come back and or they go into the desert for their 40 days type of shit. But
Yeah.
typically it's like, I'm gonna go to Mr. Miyagi, I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to Yoda,
Mm-hmm.
and
Be
then I'll
trained.
come back.
Yeah.
I'll be trained. If I'm Van Damme or whoever, I'm Batman or whatever, I go to fucking the mountains and then I come back. Or either that or they go and they go to their stash of money and guns and passports and um whatever. Or the dude gets a fucking James Bond, his heart gets broken, but he doesn't get raped.
Yeah.
The closest that I think you could say to that is probably Lawrence of Arabia, and like they don't. I mean, they don't show it, but like it's very heavily implied.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, yeah, interesting. Why is that? Um, it would be curious to keep digging for films like this, or even like more modern films like this, but from a female perspective, to see what's more of these differences. Because it's just like, and sometimes I post clips of this online on our account, but it's like to see more artistic female porn. Um, and some of it is just really interesting and it's just like the look of it, and it's more than just body parts and I mean, I think one pornography in general, I think, is not only um but this is my opinion, is that it's not only, yes, it is for the male gaze and for bouncing breasts and shit like that, but I think it's also, I think there's an aspect to men where there's a worthiness element to it, where we want to see women, or the depiction of women, in the throes of like extreme pleasure, um, without the pressure of having to perform ourselves, like in person.
Yeah.
Um, because there's, I think, always the risk of like, can we do that? Um, and so, yes, it is very self-centered but it's self-centered, I think, not necessarily always, oh, this is from me, like so-called like looking down on the woman as an object, but more of looking across and seeing her, whether it's fake or not, have an orgasm without us having the pressure of thinking like, well, we have to do that. It's easier to just see it than to like have to, so-called rise to the occasion. Um, and cinema is another version of that, where it's obviously you get to vicariously do all this. You get to see people kick ass. You get to and feel all empowered after, and um, but it's an interesting dynamic, just the whole thing of a film that has exploitation baked into it, but out of that comes some form of empowerment, and that's the kind of the paradox of this movie, because it's like, what's what's the ratio there of objectification versus like admiration or empowerment or whatever. What is that?
Well, I think in this case, what we have is we have something brilliant emerging out of mediocrity. Because if you leave it to maybe I'm being unfair to Russ Myers, but I can't help but imagine that the majority of what I see on screen that I'm really moved by is not necessarily how attractive Tura Satana is physically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's just a given at that point.
Yeah, that's in a weird way, that's the easy part.
It is. It's just like,
She is overpowering. She is a force of nature in personality and in the way she inhabits this character and whatever the backstory that is not even alluded to. You don't know where the hell this woman comes from.
mm-mm.
You just know, because it would have been real easy to play her or to write her as an angry, man-hating lesbian. But she doesn't feel that way in any respect. She feels to me as solely focused on whatever is going to make her happy and whatever is
She's,
exciting to
yeah,
her.
she's like Brando
Yeah.
in the sense of like, whether Stanley Kowalski in Streetcar or the Wild One, she's just like this dangerous like creature. And I mean, one of the characters, that Buttigieg looking character, he calls her, I think, a dangerous animal.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, it doesn't come off as like, oh, you're a fucking like, I mean, it is dehumanizing in a way, but at the same time, it's almost like, it's just like, you remember when fucking Charlie Sheen talked about how he had tiger blood?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, no, like I'm beyond just human. I'm something else.
Yeah.
It's almost like when in werewolf movies, it's it's this romantic idea of like, um, you're more than just some weak ass human. Now you're tapping into your primordial, like your primal fucking animal aspects that actually make you superior. I feel like it's more like that. And I mean, of course, that's romanticized. Um, but that's the thing, is that it is one of these. Uh, it feels more complicated than it should be.
Yeah.
To me.
And I think
Because I just expected tits, ass, and cars.
Yeah. And I think that's all. I think that's mostly her. If you can put it on anything.
Well, you said that most of whatever these strokes of genius are, like you're saying, it probably comes from her.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting. She's in Astro Zombies, which was another. It's not Russ Myers, but it's a different film that would come out a couple years later.
Mm-hmm.
Another campy performance of hers. I don't know her full filmography, but yeah, it would be interesting to touch on some of these other films and see like what was the chemistry for this versus, you know what I mean? Like, is it that she's just interesting in everything she does, even though the films might not be that great or better or worse or whatever, but then for this one, all the elements just hit. You know what I mean?
Well,
like that happens.
You described it as lightning in a bottle, and sometimes that happens, and it's rare.
Yeah.
But this could be one of those instances where it was the collaboration that it's a once in a lifetime collaboration, and it seems like really you're gonna harp praise on this fucking ridiculous movie, this campy little '60s moronic movie. Yeah, because when you watch it, it's elevated. This is art. There's good art, there's bad art, there's mediocre art, and this is something that it just exceeds this. I've said this a couple of times in describing other movies. This movie is better than it has any right to be,
Hmm.
And I think the majority of that is because of her. She is fascinating in this movie. I watched her, and there is a moment when she is kind of tender when she's trying to seduce the son.
Yeah.
And you're like, she's got fucking range. She could play a lot. She's fucking frightening. She's intimidating. She's exciting. She's sexy. She's everything that you could imagine. But let's be honest. What the hell else were they going to do with her? How many roles like this come along? I would have liked to see more films that would have you maybe they could have used her in the Roger Corman AIP pictures. Can you imagine her and Pam Grier teaming up in some of those
Right.
movies? I mean, it would have been. She's incredible. I think she's just. I'm
She's
so
like
glad I
iconic.
watched. You were
She's
saying,
fucking iconic.
yeah, she is
Huh?
iconic. She is
Yeah.
iconic. The makeup is iconic. The outfit's iconic. The tits are iconic. Everything about what she is in this movie is iconic. And I'm kind of ashamed of myself for going into it with as little expectations as I had. If this month of midnight movies and cult films has taught me anything, it's that you can be surprised. And you can be surprised in a way that is challenging to what you believe. So you really have to start, for me at least, I have to open up to the possibilities of greatness in things that before I would have been dismissive of. I mean, there's a part of me that
Yeah.
in my film school years would have looked at this and said, "This is garbage." And there was a part of me that Rocky Horror would have been like, I don't get this shit. And Eraserhead definitely. But I think you reach a point where you start to understand it's not as simple as what you've come to expect. And the art itself has room for a number of different interpretations. Now, everything that I just said is fucking obvious to anybody and it's obvious to me. But sometimes you have to be challenged into realizing that or reminding yourself of it. And
Yeah.
these three films in particular have reminded me.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're still not done with. I mean, I think the cult film, midnight film thing is kind of in the rotation. I think it's in.
Yeah.
I think there's still a long way to go in order to really get to these areas that we're touching on. You know what I mean? Until then, we'll meet again at the drive-in. We'll meet again at the midnight theater.
We'll meet again at the
But
Tower Records.
that's right.
We'll meet again.
That's right. Uh, buymeacoffee.com/watchRickRamos. That's buymeacoffee.com/watchRickRamos. If you like what we do, hit us up there, buy us a coffee, say hello. Till then, don't just try, do it.